Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Around Kitsap. Behind me at the Bremerton Elks Lodge today, there's a fantastic, nationally renowned speaker, Tall Cop Says Stop, Jermaine Galloway. And he's here to talk to us about youth drug prevention in our community. It's going to be a great day with some good interviews. Let's get started. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how this all got started.
Well, you probably need a little more time than a couple minutes, but I started in law enforcement, started as a police officer. That was kind of my childhood dream, was I always wanted to be a cop. So, but I kept growing, so at 6'9", I was a really tall cop. So I started doing trainings, and actually more of my training started with alcohol education. I started training people on alcohol programs and different things with underage drinking, and then I started seeing the nexus with actually drugs and alcohol, especially with underage. And I started doing more trainings with that, and then the trainings got bigger, and I started getting requests to go out of state, and more requests to go out of state, and more requests to go out of state. So it got to the point where I had 2 full-time jobs. I was a full-time police officer, and on all of my free time I was doing trainings, which meant I didn't sleep or have weekends off or anything like that. And ultimately I needed to pick one. So,
sure.
And the way I explained it to my chief when I left, because I had a really good relationship with my chief, really good relationship with my department, when I left was I said, I really enjoy being a cop, but I really love my trainings and traveling around and really talking to different groups. So it made my decision pretty easy. I stuck with the trainings.
Sure. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of this subject matter to you.
Well, it's obvious. We have a lot of people dying right now. And it's not just that. I mean, we have issues with people overdosing, with families crumbling, with addiction, there's just a need right now, and there's a huge need. And when I even started doing this, I didn't even realize the need until the more I started doing it, the more I saw the need to do it. And also kind of get the education out there. Because I'll be honest, when I first started training, I thought everyone knew this stuff. I really did. I thought I was showing you stuff that you already knew, and I quickly started to figure out people didn't know. And that's what started making me kind of do it more and more and more.
Sure. And where are you getting that information? Who educates you?
That's a good question. I get that question a lot. I spend a lot of time, I call it boots to the ground.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time talking to the drug world, spend a lot of time talking to people in addiction, talking to people who were in addiction and treatment and mental health, and then also training them. You know, I get people who come up and ask questions, and I start to get the same questions from different states and different communities, and I figure out something's going on there, and I start looking into that more. And I mean, so it's everywhere from doing my research to talking to people to I spend a lot of time out in communities talking to people. So I don't give anyone a canned presentation. None of my people get the same exact one. Mm-hmm. I change it for everybody I'm training.
That's great. When you're visiting those communities, what are the common concerns, the common themes that you're hearing from everyone?
I cannot believe this much is going on and I didn't know. From younger people, I will hear, I graduated college 4 years ago. I thought I knew this stuff. I had no idea about any of this. And when I show them stuff that's being sold in their communities, they didn't know either.
Sure.
So that's a lot of it. I mean, people have heard about, the heroin overdoses, but they don't understand. Everyone doesn't understand the extent of it. Everyone doesn't understand the drug lacing component with it. Everyone doesn't understand the ease of availability. I think sometimes we sit back and think these drugs are really hard to get, and they're not.
Mm-hmm. Just how quickly are you seeing that whole world change? I mean, how often are the methods changing?
Right. That's a really good question. Here's what I tell people. This is the way, and I think I mentioned it today in class. This is all I do full time, is drug and alcohol trends. This is all I do, and it's hard to keep up with. And that's all I do. And for a lot of people, for mental health, drugs are a part of what they do, but it's not 100% what they do. And they have clients coming in and they're helping their clients. So they're not sitting out researching the whole time. Or even for my law enforcement, they're not sitting out on the street just doing drugs. They go to car wrecks, they deal with domestic violence, they deal with other things. And all I do is deal with drugs and alcohol and drug trends, and it's hard to keep up with.
Wow.
So that's how fast it's changing.
And that's pretty intimidating to hear as a community member that we have to stay educated, stay on top of it.
Yeah, I tell people you can't stop what you don't know. If you're not staying educated, good luck.
True.
So yeah, you have to try to stay caught up. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind quickly. I mentioned to the class today, I said, if your last drug training was a year ago, you're a year behind.
Wow.
So yeah.
So what is your best tip to everybody? How do they stay in the know?
You have to stay active. You have to go out and talk to people. My mental health folks, I tell them, you have your clients right there. They're your best resource. That's who I go out and I talk to, and they're sitting in your office. Ask them questions. Follow up with that. When you read an article that in Tennessee there was overdoses off something, look it up, see what that was. See if there's local articles that are saying the same thing that you just didn't catch. So start just paying attention to the stuff you're already seeing and hearing about, but pay attention to it. Don't disregard it. Don't just say, oh, that's a problem in Tennessee. Oh, that's a problem in Colorado. No, it's probably a problem here, and maybe you just don't know it.
Sure. Dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper every time. Always dig deep.
Okay. If you can offer our watchers today one piece of advice that will help keep them on their toes or help them to be a good resource to others, what would you suggest?
Stay active. Don't sit around. Don't, lack of a better term, don't sit on your butt. Stay active. Get out there. Find out what's going on. You don't have to go knocking on doors, but pay attention. Just be active. That's what you need to do. And, I tell people, we're always going to be behind. You're always going to be behind. But you want to be 1 step or 5 steps behind. You don't want to be 2 miles behind. So,
Sure.
And if you look at it like that, you won't get discouraged when you are behind, because you already know you're going to be. But you'll close that gap, and you'll be surprised on what you can actually figure out what's going on.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, and
You're
I'm
welcome.
sure our community is going to benefit tenfold from having you here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm here now with Deanne Jackson from Kitsap County. She's the coalition coordinator, and she has organized the event here today. Deanne, would you tell me a little bit about your position at the county?
I am the prevention coordinator for both the Bremerton and the North Kitsap Substance Abuse Prevention Coalitions.
Okay, and
Yes.
what do all of those words mean?
Well, we have 2 groups. They've started as a grassroots group. They are funded under the Community Wellness Prevention Initiative through the state, which is through the Department of Behavioral Health and Recovery. We have one in the North Kitsap School District area, and it's comprised of members from the entire community, business, school district participants, teachers, the like, students. We all come together with the mission for substance abuse prevention among our youth. And then likewise, we have the same setup with the Bremerton School District.
That's great. It's a lot of good work you're doing.
A lot of work.
So explain to me a little bit about the event that's happening today.
We invited Jermaine Galloway, a tall cop, to come into the community. Took a long time to prepare, but we wanted to provide something that was county-wide and beyond. We have got people that have come from other parts in the state and even out of state to see him, to learn about what the drug trends are, what some of the risks and red flags are, and to help us to be more aware of what we're facing in our own community and how to address it.
And it looked like the room, that was a full room in there. Tell me a little bit about how you guys got the word out there.
Oh, we have had a lot of success. Our partners across the board, whether it be public health, our school districts, law enforcement, the treatment world, the medical field, just word of mouth everywhere, email chains, it's gone far and wide, social media. And I, this year, decided this event, I wanted to have some personal contact. So I did every single one of the registrations directly through me. I did not allow any electronic registration. It was a big job at nearly 200.
Yeah.
And one by one, I was able to contact and have direct contact with each person.
Well, your work definitely shows, and when we got here today, we got to see a little bit of the event in action, and that was my first impression. Is this took a lot of people working together to make today happen. Great job. Our community's lucky to have you guys.
Thanks.
So talk to me a little bit about the importance of this event specifically. Why does our community need this so much, and what is it helping them with?
Well, one of the reasons why it's so badly needed is that we have a lot of professionals in our county as a whole that have some education and knowledge of some of the issues revolving around substance abuse and substance use in general. But we need more knowledge. And it's not just the prevention professionals, it's not just the first responders or law enforcement that need to be there. It's the entire community that needs to be aware and to be educated on what these issues are. And it's not that we can just wave a magic wand to make it go away, but knowledge is power. And the more we can do to help educate and prepare our community as a whole as to what's going on around us, it helps us to have eyes wide open. And in doing that, we look to the future thinking that some of these issues can be curtailed and that maybe, those numbers are going to go down. We're seeing the work of our preventions are impacting positively with the use of substances by our youth. We want that to continue. And by bringing in this caliber of education, I know that it's going to continue to support that effort.
Absolutely. Like you said, having people involved who are caretakers of those in our community, that's what a benefit that spreads far and wide.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really good. If you could explain a little bit, how can our community members get further involved in efforts like this? If they are watching us today and they say, I know that I want to get involved in my community, I know that I need help, or someone I know needs assistance or more education, tell me some resources.
Well, probably one of the easiest ways is going to the Kitsap County website. You can just Google Kitsap County Substance Abuse Prevention and our coalitions pop up.
Perfect.
There's a lot of information there about things that we've put out into the community, fact sheets and things like that, but our direct contact information is in there. So we can plug folks into the coalitions if they're interested in that, if they want to get on an email list just to know what events are coming up so that they can participate in that way. And kind of like Jermaine mentioned, that boots to the ground. There's an opportunity even through what the work that we're doing to have boots to the ground with us too. And we need coalition folks. We need community folks.
Deanne, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great work you're doing in our community and we appreciate it.
Thanks, Constance.
I'm here now with Laura Hyde. She is a program manager with Kitsap County. Laura, could you explain to us a little bit more about your job?
Well, sure. So I coordinate the Commission on Children and Youth as well as the Youth Substance Abuse Prevention program.
Okay. And how exactly does everything tie together with what's going on here today? You guys do a lot of work and there are very few of you, so explain to me how the program works.
A little bit of magic and a lot of hard work.
Sure.
You know, the Commission on Children and Youth is kind of a oversight, think tank, gathering of the community together to be sure that we have what we need for our children and youth here in the community. And a big issue is substance abuse prevention. And so we have our substance abuse prevention programs. The most effective way to do that is in partnership and working together. So that's what we do.
And what are some of the partnerships that you have with the community that help make days like today happen?
Sure, we have our Bremerton and North Kitsap Substance Abuse Prevention Coalitions. We have the Commission on Children and Youth. As far as whom our partners are, we're working with the health district and the school system and the educational service district and the rest of the human services department and the school system and law enforcement and the juvenile system and everybody, our other community service agencies like the Sexual Assault Center and the YWCA and the YMCA. And the Boys and Girls Clubs and everybody that is involved in working with children and families.
So really, when we are saying the phrase, it takes a village, this is the village.
That's exactly it.
It's really impressive.
Yeah, I know, it amazes me all the time.
A lot of work to coordinate all those different agencies
But I love the way they work together. It is just a volunteering of resources and shared identification of need. And we do a lot of it with youth and help them develop leadership skills and build up their advocacy skills and learn all about the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we don't plan for them, we plan with them.
That's important.
Yeah,
get their input
it
on
is.
the directions that they want to go rather than dictating that to them. That's so important. Give me just a few of your thoughts on today's event specifically.
Oh, you know, he's so amazing. I learned things, and I've been in this field for years. I think the most important piece is that the more that we know, the safer we can keep our children, as well as our partners. You know, I used to teach, and his example of when a teacher finds substances, you know, finds a bag of marijuana, the first thing they're going to do is open it up and smell to see if it's marijuana. And oh my goodness, it can kill you if it's fentanyl laced.
That's terrifying.
Yes. So it's how you handle substances and how you work with law enforcement is extremely important.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
Laura. It's
Thank
great
you.
work that all of you guys are doing.
Thank you.
What a beautiful backdrop here today at the Elks Lodge in Bremerton for such a heartbreaking and harrowing subject for our community. I really want to thank everyone who came together to make today happen. Huge thanks to Deanne Jackson and Laura Hyde with Kitsap County for organizing the event, for Jermaine Galloway for bringing all of these important educational tools to our community members, and really most importantly to everyone who showed up today to educate themselves so that they can be better stewards for our community and to help educate themselves and others to prevent youth drug abuse in our community. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Around Kitsap. We'll see you next time.